Imagine you're a law-abiding American citizen who has never been in trouble with the law. You start your day like you do any other, heading to work for your 6 a.m. shift. However, this day is not quite like the rest. Imagine you are summoned to your boss's office at about 8:30, and when you get there, ATF is there to arrest you because they claim you were involved with a criminal enterprise where 210 firearms were seized and 20 people were arrested, including members of the Bloods, Crips, and Gangster Disciples gangs. But that's something you never did. Well, that's what happened to 33-year-old Brian Monte Wilson of West Columbia, South Carolina on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. Guys, this is going to anger you, so stick by, listen to everything that these clowns did to this person, and we'll chat again in a minute. Now, you've heard me talk about precious metals and telling you that experts are calling for record high gold. Well, now that time's here, guys and gals. Gold is broken through $2,300 an ounce. Where will it stop? I don't know, but experts are calling for gold to reach $3,200 an ounce or higher, and silver is rising as well. I bought my gold and silver from Lear Capital, and I'm up 21% on that purchase. Now, it's pretty clear that the dollar is losing value. Remember, the more they print, the less it's worth. And since 2020, every buck in your wallet has lost 24% of its purchasing power. That's why I bought gold and silver. It holds value, can go up in value, and I suggest you look into doing it if you want to preserve your own wealth. Buy some gold and silver, keep it in your safe, and you can call my friends at Lear Capital to do it. It's 1-800-260-5075, or head over to leargg.com and get their free information about buying gold and ask if they still have that $3,200 an ounce report that I've been telling you about. Give them a call today, 1-800-260-5075. Again, 1-800-260-5075, or head over to leargg.com. All right, let's get into this disturbing story and arrest for this guy. He got screwed, man. All right, at 6 a.m., Wilson actually began his shift at Harsco Rails, where he works. It's a railroad equipment manufacturer. He was ordered to the boss's office. The supervisor went and grabbed him, said, head to my office at about 8:30. When he got there, two men and a woman wearing civilian clothes told him that they were with the ATF and they had a warrant for his arrest. Now, he never saw a badge either. Wilson didn't push back, didn't resist, was handcuffed, taken into custody, and walked out of the company. All of his co-workers witnessed his arrest, and once they got into the parking lot outside of the building, he saw two other agents searching his car. On the way to the federal courthouse, he called his brother and notified his family of his arrest. Now, Wilson was booked, fingerprinted, photographed, all of the stuff that booking encompasses at the federal courthouse. Where he was searched a second time, all of his property was seized and cataloged, and he was thrown into a cell all by himself. Now, at some point, his public defender, a federal public defender, was led into his cell and showed Wilson a copy of an indictment that charged him with 5 counts of possession with the intent to distribute a controlled dangerous substance and 3 counts of possession of a firearm in furtherance of those drug trafficking offenses. Now, Wilson was informed that he was facing up to 115 years in federal prison and more than $17 million in fines. Now, I'm going to pause here real quick and remind you about the FBI agent who got caught stealing guns out of the FBI evidence locker, admitted to it, and he was let off with a slap on his ass. But they want to give old Wilson here 115 years and $17 million in fines. Now, here's the catch. Wilson had never been arrested in his life. Never been in trouble. He told his lawyer that he was innocent and there must have been some mistake. And probably, like every other attorney, he hears that from everybody else because nobody is ever guilty in this country. Everybody says I didn't do it. So he probably in the beginning was a little sheepish, but this attorney actually did pretty good. Wilson was brought into the courtroom for his arraignment before a U.S. magistrate who read the 8 charges from the federal grand jury indictment that was issued on December 5th, 2023, just, 8 days before they arrested him. Count 1, possessing and distributing crack cocaine on November 10th, 2022. Count 2, possession and distribution of 5 grams or more of methamphetamine and crack cocaine on November 18th of 2022. Count 3, possessing and distributing crack cocaine on December 8th, 2022. Count 4, using and carrying a firearm during drug trafficking crimes on December 8th of 2022. Count 5, possessing and distributing 5 grams or more of methamphetamine and crack cocaine on January 17th. Count 6, using and carrying a firearm during a drug trafficking crime on January 17th of 2023. Count 7, possessing and distributing 5 grams or more of methamphetamine on March 13th of 2023. And count 8 was using and carrying a firearm during a drug trafficking crime on March 13th of 2023. The big problem for the ATF is that Brian Monte Wilson never sold a single gun, never sold any drugs to the ATF, any ATF task force operators, any ATF agents, their informants, any neighbors, any people in the neighborhood, because he never did it. The agents falsely testified that ATF had Wilson under surveillance as well. And they had him under surveillance, according to them, for the past 13 months. And they listed a whole bunch of dates in which he allegedly sold drugs to these undercover ATF agents. They claim they had him on tape committing these crimes, right? Gets better. From November 2022 to March of 2023, the West Columbia police officers, named in a follow-up complaint I'll tell you about in a minute, Calvin Brown and David Thompson, they were assigned to an ATF task force. They conducted a series of undercover buys of guns and drugs from someone they identified as Brian Monte Wilson. Now, their reports claim that the person the officers bought the guns and drugs from and surveilled was listed as, quote, Brian Monte Wilson or Brian Wilson, and they even used his home address. They even described him as a black male who was 33 years old, 5'10", with black hair and brown eyes. Wilson matches that description, but so do a lot of other people in West Columbia. That's the problem the ATF has. Now, their reports document a whole bunch of undercover purchases of these drugs and these guns. I'm not going to list them all here for you, but I will have a link down below to Wilson's follow-up suit against these 2 West Columbia cops, because they lied. Now, Wilson pleaded not guilty, and the judge was willing to schedule a bond hearing, but the government, the prosecution, wanted Wilson held for several days instead. Now, after the arraignment, Wilson continued to tell his attorney, look, man, there's got to be a mistake. I have never done this. Well, for once, I'm just saying that in jest, but for once, his attorney or an indigent defender listened to their client. The attorney was able to keep Wilson there at the courthouse long enough to where the ATF realized that they arrested the wrong guy. Now, we don't know how they got to that information because their report, their indictment, everything has been sealed so that you can't get to it. The Assistant U.S. Attorney, Elizabeth Major, quickly moved to dismiss this case, where she said, quote, further review of this case reveals the interests of justice would best be served by a dismissal of the pending charges as opposed to further prosecution. Based on the foregoing, the government respectfully requests that the court dismiss the pending charges against the defendant Brian Monte Wilson. That's lawyer code for, Judge, we done messed up. Now, Wilson was released that same day from the federal courthouse at just about 4:30, the end of the day. All of the charges were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can't be brought up again. But nobody told him the ATF made that mistake and falsely arrested him. which is why last month he filed that civil rights lawsuit that I just told you about against those 2 West Columbia police officers who lied and said they sold him guns and drugs while they were working with the ATF task force. His lawsuit looks for unspecified amount of damages, both actual consequential and punitive damages, and alleges the officers falsely arrested him in violation of his Fourth Amendment, and that their lies led to his wrongful indictment and his malicious prosecution, violating his 5th and 14th Amendment rights. And Wilson has got a good lawsuit here. Now, Wilson said that he had to take several days off of work because of this whole ordeal. He says he suffers migraines, and his coworkers were spreading rumors about his arrest, which caused him a bunch of stress as well. He continues to say, quote, he's never trafficked drugs, he's a lawful gun owner, and he has no criminal record. Now, it appears that Wilson is about to sue the ATF as well, and good on him. Because our government sucks. They hate you, and they will do everything they can to bring you down. But when they make the mistake, it's like, hey man, just go on. Let me dust you off, take these cuffs off. Go ahead, have a good day, man. My bad. Hopefully Mr. Wilson is made whole, although you'll never, ever take that trauma away of being arrested by the federal government and told that you're one of these gangs and then you're running guns and drugs. I feel for him. I really do. What do you guys think should happen to these 2 cops as well as the ATF agents who obviously lied and said that they had this dude on video, made several face-to-face undercover buys from him, yet they never did? Let me know down below. Subscribe to the channel if you want more information, not only on the attack of our Second Amendment, but the corruption of the federal government around that Second Amendment as well. Hope you have a phenomenal day. Take care.